Dear Mrs. Elvira Pfeffer and the entire Pfeffer family, Sheyichyu, as I participated in yesterday's Zoom Levaya of a prince of Pittsburgh, your loving husband and father, Reb Murray Pfeffer, Zichrono Livracha, my mind wandered back to so many meaningful, impactful, and lasting thoughts, experiences, and sentiments. It's just about 50 years since I came to Pittsburgh as a young 24-year-old rabbi, succeeding a Zokin Virogil, a Rav who served for 40 plus years before me. But that did not detract an iota from the kavod, deference, and derech eretz that Reb Murray displayed towards me, the new Rav in town. As soon as I was selected, and even before we moved into town, he was in touch with me about serious and consequential shilas. I recall as if it happened yesterday that before we moved in, after spending several Shabbosim in Pittsburgh, he called me to New York at Yeshiva University where I was teaching to deliberate about a shaila, not an easy one. He rarely talked about simple things. He presented the issue, and after listening and telling him that I may discuss it with Mori Verabi, Hagoyin Reb David Lifshitz Zecher Tzadik Livrocha, but before I do, perhaps we ought to reformulate the shaila. He listened to what I said, thought it through for a few minutes, and then said words that I have since repeated countless times to many, many people. He said, Rabbi Safran, I like you. Do you know why? Because more important than knowing how to give an answer, one must know how to ask a shaila. And you just showed me what the right shaila is. Wow. More important than knowing how to give an answer, one must know how to ask a shaila. A lesson for life. Talking about Rav Lifshitz Zecher Tzadik Livrocha, I once invited this gadol to Pittsburgh. Besides his many Torah commitments, Reb David also served as the Nasi of a renowned chesed organization, Ezras Torah, as did Moran Shel Yisrael Reb Moshe Zatzal before him. We arranged for a parlor meeting in our home, and naturally also wanted to have the great schus of personally hosting Reb David Zatzal. Being the epitome of edelkeit and consideration, when Reb David came into our home, he refused to take off his coat, insisting that I show him around the house, particularly all the bedrooms. I didn't understand why, but if your Rebbe asks, you do it. As we're going through the house, which was comfortable and spacious, At each bedroom door, he stops to ask, who sleeps here? Who sleeps there? Finally, he was satisfied with all and was ready to take off his coat and settle in. I asked, Rebbe, was hat der Rebbe gedacht sein? Was hat der Rebbe gedacht sein, de alle Zimmerin? To which Reb David answered, because he needed to be sure that he was not displacing any of the children. He needed to be sure that each child slept in their own bed and that he was not disrupting them. If he thought that was the case, he would not stay with us and instead go to the house of a very fine, special Yid, was wohnt da in Pittsburgh, who lives here in Pittsburgh, sehr a choshever, a very choshever, Reb Moshe Pfeffer. Is gar a größer Bal Chesed, en a gewaltiger Bal derech Eretz. Hat a feiner, teure, dicker Stub. Just to be sure all understand the Yiddish, he said, he is a great Bal Chesed, and a gewaltiger Bal derech Eretz. He has a very fine, teure, dicker home. Reb David's consideration and sensitivity to not disrupt young children's routine and his accolades for my dear and beloved friend, Murray Pfeffer, always remained etched upon my heart. His description summed up who Reb Murray was, a Godel Ador's hesped for your very unique husband and father, Zichrono Livrocha. Yes, he was unique. He was impeccable in many ways. His piety, Ehrlichkeit, seriousness. He was serious, but with an equally beautiful smile, which I envision as I now write, as I now speak. His focus, concern, and genuine feelings for the other. He was insightful and astute. I can see him sitting, contemplating, thinking something through thoroughly and sensitively. What a family man he was. He had derech eretz for all, but more so for his own family members, including his own children, of whom he so often spoke in glowing terms. He was mighty proud of them and their accomplishments. And of his wife, he frequently spoke with such pride of who and what she is and what she represents and accomplishes. Reb Murray was a genuine toicha kibaroi. He was dressed sharply as a genuine gentleman. Never a ketem, a spot on his outer garments, nor anything tarnishing his inner being. Dressed in garments of honesty, integrity, fairness, respect, and yosher. his derech eretz and deference for his shviga, the late Mrs. Frida Unger Alea Sholem, is a whole chapter unto itself. Not only did he display ultimate respect and consideration for the family's matriarch, but whenever he felt it necessary, he would prompt me to be sure to greet, respond, call, ask, and more, to be sure that Mrs. Unger received her due kavod and derech eretz, which she richly deserved. His goals and aspirations for the Pittsburgh Torah community were the loftiest. Whenever I introduced new ideas and goals to enrich and broaden the Torah base, he was the first to applaud both publicly and privately. His haskama was genuine and reinforcing. It was weighty because of who he was and what he represented. I recall the days when I campaigned on every street corner, and certainly always from the Politzedek pulpit, for a koilel to come to town, to the point that there were those who came to see me on a Sunday morning to remind me that my job was to be the Politzedek rabbi, not a koilel fundraiser. Oh boy. Guess who came to hold my hand, to soothe, encourage, and cheer me on? Don't ever be afraid, Rabbi Safran. Only of the Eberster do we need to be afraid, the man said. Who else would have said such words in Pittsburgh circa 1980 but Murray Pfeffer, zichrono livracha? I could go on and on. There is so much to share and remember. His sefer, his life was a sefer toldos ha'adam. We left Pittsburgh in 1985. Truth be told, we did not have much contact since. Life goes on. New angels arrive to climb up the ladder. But as we get on in years, we realize that as we travel life's train, each on their own masois, every so often we encounter those rare passengers with whom we travel, just 10 or 15 years. And then the conductor above announces our station to get off. But those rare individuals with whom we traveled for but a few stations leave such a strong and everlasting roishem that we can never forget them. Such a passenger on my life's train was Reb Murray Pfeffer, zichrono livracha. May he always be a Melitz Yosha for his beloved Elvira and all of his beloved children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Hamokoim yinachem eschem besoich she'ar avei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. Signed, Elio Safran.